This is Arab Talk on KPOO 89.5 FM in San Francisco. This is Arab Talk with Jess and Jamal. I'm Jess Jamal.
And I'm Jamal Dajani.
Well, Jamal, the brutality of the apartheid regime of Israel continues despite what people have referred to as a ceasefire. The death toll in Gaza continues to escalate. The devastation in Gaza continues to escalate. The numbers of people who have been made homeless, some of whom for the fifth and sixth times, who are already refugees in Gaza, have lost their homes again. And despite the international pressure that's being leveled on the Israelis, the apartheid regime of Israel, what we see is continued pressure to ethnically cleanse and remove Palestinians who've been living in Jerusalem and in the Sheikh Jarrah area. And we continue to see attacks on Al-Aqsa Mosque at this time. So the apartheid regime shows nothing in terms of de-escalating this situation. But on the other side, which we're going to talk about today, the international condemnation of the apartheid regime of Israel has been escalating at a very rapid pace, and we even see little edges of movement from the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken. So we got a lot to talk about today.
Absolutely, Jess, and you're right. I mean, as far as the escalation goes, Israel security, they've been going into a whole all-out campaign, arresting activists, arresting Palestinians, 1948 Palestinians, especially those who kind of supported their brethren and their sisters in the occupied West Bank and Gaza. So they've been going from town to town and arrested. I don't even, I've lost count of the number of people who got arrested because they do it early in the morning, but eventually we'll have an accurate number. But on the bright side, as you've mentioned, the Irish Parliament has passed a motion condemning the de facto annexation of Palestinian land by Israeli authorities.
That's big.
The motion tabled by the opposition, the Sinn Féin party, passed on Wednesday after receiving cross-party support. This is really important because this makes it the first European Union country to use the phrase de facto annexation in relation to Israel's actions in the occupied Palestinian territories. After the vote, Sinn Féin's leader, Mary Lou MacDonald, said on Twitter that the motion must mark new assertive, consistent confrontation of Israeli crimes against Palestine. That's actually,
Jamal. This is a huge development. It's a huge development on the international diplomatic scene, where you have European Union countries, not just countries that have historically been very supportive of Palestinian self-determination, but an outright European Union country coming out and making such a strong statement of, Israeli apartheid practices. This is huge.
It is. And if you saw the images of the parliamentarian,
yes,
they were wearing masks with the Palestinian flag, right, or the keffiyeh, which kind of made headlines all over European newspapers. And Israel has complained, and what actually angered the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and that's the other story, Jess, is that on Wednesday he denounced French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian for saying earlier this week that Israel is at risk of long-lasting apartheid if a Palestinian state is not established. So Le Drian, whose remarks made him one of the first senior officials to use the term apartheid in reference to Israel. Of course, he was referring to Palestinians, but also to violent crackdown on 1948 Palestinians or Palestinians with Israeli citizenship who showed support to Palestinians in Jerusalem, the West Bank, and Gaza, and also condemning the Jewish lynch mob who were marching in the streets and chanting death to Arabs. So I saw a press conference with Benjamin Netanyahu in Tel Aviv, and he expressed a strong protest against the French government, called the ambassador to reprimand him, and said it was outrageous comments of the French foreign minister on television. So that's I said, 2 in a row.
Yeah.
The Irish parliament passes their motion. The French foreign minister, and you know France is a strong ally to Israel. The French foreign minister compares it to an apartheid or heading. Of course, I have no complaints about these statements, except I'd like to correct the French foreign minister that it is and it has been an apartheid for many years.
Right. And the other thing that I'd like to just correct with with Ireland and the Irish is that it is annexation. They called it de facto annexation, but it's literal, not just as a result of years of practice annexation. By the way, the other thing that I found really interesting about the French foreign minister, Jamal, it's not as if the French government, the Macron government, is left-leaning. And they have always been huge supporters of the apartheid regime of Israel. So for the French foreign minister to make a statement like that, it had to be cleared by Macron. And obviously it was. You have kind of a right-leaning government within the European Union coming down strong and condemning the apartheid practices of the Israeli regime. So you're absolutely right. These are two huge...
Well, I mean, just in France, if you criticize Israel, you have to walk on eggs because you could be charged with anti-Semitism charges.
That's right.
You know, they've passed all kinds of laws, not to mention, of course, you're talking about Macron, who has been attacking Muslims. In France. You know, a total Islamophobic president, I would say, in his actions. And many of the French are also a large number of the minorities. They're the ones who go out in the streets of Paris demonstrating. And then when they were demonstrating, the French government sent its security forces to, you know, basically hose them down with with water.
Yes.
I mean, they didn't want them to gather in the streets.
Well, it's kind of interesting because I think the larger political analysis that's been going on is that the war against innocent, you know, civilians, Palestinian civilians in Gaza, the men, women, and children that were killed, hundreds, is having a costly political impact on Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israelis. If you look at the polls coming from, and they polled Israelis, and here's the tragedy, Jamal, the overwhelming majority of Israelis wanted Benjamin Netanyahu to continue the shelling and the killing of Gaza, and undoubtedly would have had even a greater devastating toll on the civilian population there. So the Israeli populace they want Benjamin Netanyahu to pay a price for this politically. They weren't supportive of the so-called ceasefire. We have to say, by the way, Jamal, ceasefire in quotes, because as I said in the beginning, the ethnic cleansing in East Jerusalem and even Palestinian citizens of the Israeli state are being viciously targeted right now. So that has not stopped.
You're right. And of course, we've seen more U.S. congressmen and congresswomen being vocal, basically decrying what was going on. And hey, you've made the news, Jess. Senator Bernie Sanders quoted you while he was talking about the Palestinian children in Gaza and their suffering. Let's watch that clip.
Just got them. a professor of psychiatry at the University of California, San Francisco, who specializes in the psychological effects of armed conflict on children, told USA Today, and I quote, "What children in Gaza are exposed to on a regular basis exceeds anything that any children anywhere else in the world experience. There's basically no place to go for these children. They are unable to escape," end of quote.
Well, Jamal, I mean, it's good to get a shout out from Bernie Sanders. This is part of the work, that I've been doing in Gaza for 20 years, looking at the traumatic impact of war, occupation, and displacement on Palestinian children and Palestinian communities in Gaza. And listen, our viewers and listeners need to know what I said in an article where I was quoted in USA Today. But basically, Palestinian children and Palestinians, unlike any community anywhere in the world, face a kind of trauma that is unlike anything, because even with the atrocities committed against Iraqi children during the Gulf War, the atrocities committed against Syrian children, even what's happening in Yemen, all of those communities at least can leave. They can go somewhere else. Families could take their children and try to find a safe place eventually. Palestinian children and Palestinians in Gaza, especially because they live in an open-air prison, have nowhere to go to protect their children, and they are left with a unique and devastating, horrible impact of trauma, unlike any children anywhere in the world. So, that Bernie Sanders would quote some of the work that I've done is great, but what is the Senate and what is the House and what is the Congress going to do about the $700 million that they want to give to the Israeli war machine, Jamal?
Well, here is the sad thing. Although, I stand with Bernie Sanders, and I think he's done a lot of things that are good, and he made a lot of changes. However, he also angered a lot of people afterwards. Even though, he spoke against the atrocities in Gaza, he spoke, as we've seen in when he quoted you in that clip, talked about the suffering of the Palestinian children in Gaza. However, when people started to, when they saw the Israeli government was trying to leverage what I call anti-Semitism with what's going on in Gaza, saying that there is a high rate of anti-Semitism, which we always deplore.
Oh,
and
yes, absolutely.
And then they were trying to link it with what's going in Gaza. He was asking activists and others to tone down the rhetoric. I mean, how can you tone down your rhetoric when people are getting slaughtered, Jess?
Well,
so people are not happy with him. And also, when you've mentioned about the $730 million, Bernie Sanders, who opposed it now, he's not opposing it. He basically withdrew his opposition, as far as I know, or abstaining. Not taking his opposition against
well, then don't
basically the president of the United
then
States.
Don't quote,
so that's
then don't
troubling.
quote me, Bernie. Unless you're going to take a principled stand and restrict these war machine funding so that the Israeli military can continue to use U.S. support and U.S. military to kill civilians in Gaza, then don't quote me, man. We have to stop this funding of an apartheid regime that doesn't hesitate whatsoever to use U.S.-made weaponry, Jamal, to kill women and children. I mean, this is simply unacceptable. I want to bring up just another quick thing politically, Jamal. 500 ex-Biden staffers penned a letter to Joe Biden saying, you got to do something about Palestine. Your undying support for the Israeli regime, which does these apartheid practices, which kills women and children. This is not good. This is not why we worked to get you elected, and you have to have a more even and balanced approach to this issue. So if you look at the 500 plus signatories, Jamal, these were individuals who were high up in the Biden campaign, getting him elected as president of the United States.
And then, of course, you have Congresswoman McCollum, the bill basically talking about not using U.S. military aid to Israel to kill children. I mean, it's a and simple,
very simple,
plain and simple bill that she's facing opposition. And then for Bernie Sanders now to kind of like, oh, let me just stay quiet. I don't want to disrupt what Biden wants to do. I think they got to wake up and smell the coffee, including President Biden. Yes, he sent his Secretary of State to the area, to the region, to sit down and talk to people. And then, I had a message, Jess, and this is probably a good segue to the Secretary of State. He made an announcement saying, oh, we're going to give the Palestinians, I don't know what was it, $200 million or $300 million. And my message was to him, Palestinians don't want U.S. aid. They don't want the $200 million or $300 million. They want their homes back.
Thank you.
I mean, this is what's going on. So that was my message. It's not about like every time they just march in the streets decrying apartheid, decrying ethnic cleansing, decrying the constant, stealing of their homes. They want their homes. They want to live in dignity like everyone else, not just like you throw them a little bit of money, kind of like throwing them a bone to remain silent.
That's
exactly. And
no, Jamal,
that
that's
was my
exactly
message. Right. And Facebook has censored it.
What?
So we're back. Yeah, we're back.
Oh my God.
To the Facebook. Yeah, it got a lot of reception. They've censored it. Facebook, they use these third-party censors or content fact checkers.
Content monitors, right?
Like editors from USA Today or from the Daily Call and others, because I've received letters from them. People who have never been to the Middle East, they don't know nothing about Palestine. They don't speak Arabic. The closest they have gotten to the Middle East is through eating a falafel sandwich. and then they tell you what to write and what not to write. No, I'm serious. And I challenge the person who censored it and who doesn't understand the Arabic and who doesn't understand the story. They were saying I used a picture that wasn't in Sheikh Jarrah and it was out of context. Well, Sheikh Jarrah is not the nucleus of ethnic cleansing.
And it's not the only
one
place.
Of the latest episodes
Absolutely.
Of ethnic cleansing. Ethnic cleansing started in 1948. They should read Ilan Pappé's book, The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine. And so I'm angry, and that's my message to them. And incidentally, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, she wrote a letter, and we'll post that letter as we're speaking. She wrote a letter addressing those people who are in charge at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok USA, basically saying that social media has been one of the only places for us, for Palestinians, for the, the kind of the poor man's media to get first-hand accounts from Palestine about the occupation, about the violence they face. And then she wrote them a letter urging them to cease censorship and ensure Palestinian voices are heard. So I don't know what more can we do to bypass this censorship in the United States that they hide behind the terms of the TOT, terms of whatever use or something like this.
Terms of use, yeah. Well, I think it's unacceptable, Jamal, that you're getting censored. I mean, this show, when it's posted to Facebook, has faced censorship or limitations in terms of who can view it and how many people can view it. And I think that's just the, unacceptability of, or I should say the selectivity about what messages get out there and what messages don't. We're still seeing that pro-Palestine voices and people who are promoting content having to do with ethnic cleansing in Palestine are being targeted still, despite the, despite the light that's being shined on these attempts to stifle free speech and content which should be shared as openly as possible. It's really unacceptable.
Meanwhile, this is the funny thing about it, Jess, and we don't have all the time to talk about it because we have actually a great thing. The second half of the show is you have Bella Hadid, you know, the famous model Bella Hadid, and her sister
Gigi
Hadid, and others who basically denounce the aggression and the killing of children, and they get attacked left and right on social media by the Hasbara machine, Israel's Hasbara machine, and the Hasbara machine publishes a full-page ad in the New York Times attacking Bella Hadid, Gigi Hadid, and Dua Lipa. Imagine, the New York Times monetizes basically
hate
on this defamation, and this basically it was a hate attack, accusing them of anti-Semitism because they were saying stop the killing of Palestinian children. And then Palestinian voices get censored for saying, you know, what's going on? Israel is an apartheid state. Here I said it. I'll say it a million times. It is. You know, as they say, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. I mean, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to describe a country that has two sets of laws for two ethnicities, a country that has bypass roads for Jews only, a country that ethnically cleanses Palestinians? How do we describe this country, Jess?
It's very easy, Jamal. We describe it the way Human Rights Watch did. It's an apartheid state. And this statement, as if it's de facto or leading to the French foreign minister, it's already there. We have to continue to confront this, Jamal. Now, we talked about a lot of heavy things today, I know, but we need to let our viewers and listeners know that there's inspiration coming from Palestinians who refuse to be ethnically cleansed, who refuse to be, you know, just passively let their homes be destroyed, or, you know, not stand up to the apartheid regime. I mean, these are inspirational stories, and, you know, there are musicians who want to celebrate that.
That's right, Jess. So we're very happy to have on the show on Arab Talk again Arabic violin virtuoso Georges Lammas and one of Bolivia's most internationally renowned Latino guitarist Gabriel Navia. They're going to be performing some Arabic fusion, and this is actually a gift from them to the Palestinians who are suffering under Israeli oppression, just some relief. And so let's watch this interview and listen to their beautiful music. We are very excited to host again on Arab Talk Arabic violin virtuoso Georges Lammas and one of Bolivia's most internationally renowned Latino guitarist and artist Gabriel Navia. Georges Lammas, of Palestinian descent, was born in Beirut, Lebanon, and Gabriel Navia was born in Bolivia. What a great duo. Welcome again to Arab Talk, George and Gabriel.
Thanks very much for having us again on your show, Arab Talk.
I mean, here we meet again. Last time I remember we've had you in the studio together was in 2018 after the release of your album Opus Omnia in 2017. And we want to talk about this. But just to kind of remind our listeners and viewers, how did you guys meet? I mean, this is just an interesting story by itself.
Where we started, I think over 10 years now. Yeah, when I met you. Yeah. Well, his father actually owns a place in North Beach called Peña Pachamama, where they have mostly every night music, and they bring in different cultures. So I was invited by another musicians to come there and play with them and kind of just jam. So I went there, and that night actually I met Gabriel. And I didn't know Gabriel was a musician to start with, because he was actually serving the table I sat on.
We have to do everything when it's a family's business, right?
Yeah. And then I jammed with the other musicians, which is Freddie Clark. And then we start doing every Wednesday with the other band there and at Pachamama. And I start seeing Gabriel, of course, playing with Bolivian music with his own group there with his father. And they asked me to sit with them and jam. And I start actually playing with them. And suddenly I get this idea where me and Gabriel, we can really have a lot of stuff in common. So he starts sitting me in my Arabic band. I start sitting with him in his band, and then playing. So I learned his actual repertoire, and a lot of stuff actually composed by his father, by him. And he starts sitting with me playing my own composition and also classical Arabic stuff. So he learned a lot of Arabic music, classical Arabic music. And then we decided on, we can really do a lot of stuff just together, violin and guitar. And so we start doing it, and we didn't know where it's gonna go. We start doing, taking some Arabic pieces, like classic Arabic pieces, and see what can really work, have a common, what can work between the violin, the Arabic violin, and the flamenco guitar. And we found there's a lot of actually things can work out. So we search and we composed our own stuff, and he is actually on 3 different albums I made, and Gabriel is on it. And also I played also on his father's album and their albums. Gabriel, you want to talk?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to tell you, we really, I feel we connected. We met each other, but we just, we connected deeply when we started playing. Maybe the first time we sat on a jam, and music was just like, I don't know, it's like when two souls just find each other and they really connect on a different level. That's how I felt with George, like kind of a spiritual connection through the music. And, it's an instant that happens like that. You know it's going to, last forever.
I mean, before, when we talked with you, you were talking about your music, describing it as Arabic fusion, and I see behind you a sign says, Ola Yalla, and that's kind of made me think like Yalla Yalla kind of hits the same, right?
Well,
what's the concept? The concept,
as Ola in Spanish means
Hola, hi.
Hi. And Yalla, of course, in Arabic means come on. Come on. So just recently, because in the latest album Opus Omnia, we composed a piece together, actually here in my house in the living room, which is have that combination. And then we were trying to find a name for it. I said, what about just have a catchy name? So we decided to call it half Spanish and Arabic, Hola Yalla. And now we call ourselves Duo, as you see in the banner, Duo Latin Arabia.
It's pretty much the concept. I feel it represents what our meaning of the two worlds: Latin music, Arabic music, and rhythms. And at the same time, it's a new adventure for both of us, because we really like to dig in each other's mind musically. He has ideas, and then I'll go into his ideas, and make it like a puzzle, and then I throw him the ball again, and he'll change it again, and we really complement each other in a compositional level, and of course on stage it's like we have a very very special communication. We almost like we don't need to talk; it's just all by looking, and also adding.
You read each other's mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he have the love for Arabic music, and I have love also for Latin music. So combine them together. He takes my idea, turn them to Latin. I take his idea, turn them to Arabic.
Well, I love to talk to you forever, but I want to hear that music and our audience? How do you actually manage to combine it? I mean, I love your album. I just want to emphasize Opus Omnia that you released. I love your songs, both of you, George Lammas and Gabriel Navia. Ya Msafer Wahdak, that's one of my favorites. Desert Nomad, Swaying Palms. I mean, it's great. It's really great music. What are you going to play for us now?
Well, a couple of weeks ago, he came to my house, and we're always working on new ideas. And I have a new album actually almost done. We're just working on even the next one after that one. But we create a piece the other day here in my salon. We don't have a name for it yet. I can play a little bit of that for you.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Beautiful, bravo. I'm going to call this Arabic and Latin talk. That's just Arabic talk. I mean, and we're going to use this for our theme music. I mean, this is beautiful. Did you, I mean, I know now you're sitting together because I know almost everyone in the San Francisco Bay Area has been vaccinated. Did you practice before, like via Zoom or online? I mean, I know you know, last time, George, we talked to you via Zoom, and you said you were doing something with, you know, playing some music, you know, and you missed the audience. I mean,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're still struggling with that. Actually, it's not fully open yet, as you know, in San Francisco. But we've done a lot of actually dance. Actually, we did a Zoom belly dance show last year on Zoom. I have actually my full Arabic band. Gabriel was also with us, and also I did last year also a festival from Palestine, Bethlehem, from the art college Dar al Kalima. You know about it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Also, they did a big festival. Also, I was part of it. What else? Yeah, so some other also events. I can't remember right now, but some other events on Zoom. We're still doing stuff on Zoom until we're hoping by the end of the summer things will open again.
I mean, do you have any plans, like Gabriel? I mean, I know the clubs are closed, or I mean, anything that happens now outside, seating, which, you know, even for restaurants, or partial seating. Is there something on the horizon that you can actually get together and perform in a kind of small, intimate environment?
Things on the horizon are not clear yet. Again,
it's going to be a slow transition. I feel like people are you know, getting vaccinated and all that, but you know, there's still the vulnerable that you have to take care of. You know, people that can't take the vaccine or are too, you know, ill, or you know, they just simply can't take it. So we have to try to make sure that we all come together for this, whether you're vaccinated or not vaccinated. But you know, just keep all the precaution, you know, and be safe. It's not over yet.
Yeah. In the meantime, we're taking advantage of this time, and we practicing, rehearsing, try to finish the album I'm working on. Sometimes I do sessions, of course, with my producer Richard Mikos on Zoom, try to edit stuff and things. And sometimes I was able to go to the studio and do more work. So we just have to wait and see what's going to happen. In the meantime, we're just going to keep working on the music and composing, and because music is our life, me and Gabriel.
I'm sure about this, and then you guys put great music. And I just can't wait to kind of see you in person and attend one of your concerts or come down. You know, I mean, everybody's now dying, I mean, in a way, to kind of like go somewhere, you know, to be with their loved ones or go to a club and listen to music. Everybody misses this. And I'm sure this will happen, hopefully, you know, like as you said, in the summer. I'd love to hear something from your album, Opus Omnia, so you can, you know, select whatever you like.
We can do a part of Allah Yallah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Right.
Beautiful, beautiful. I know, George, you toured with Gabriel and his father, Eddie, Bolivia, and then we talked about that last time. I mean, things are different now and difficult. Maybe, you know, I see behind you, both of you, the Palestinian kafia. You know, Palestine is going through a very hard time now, Palestinians, especially with the evictions in Sheikh Jarrah. Maybe at some point, do you think you have plans to tour together, maybe play to the Palestinian families and children in Jerusalem?
Love to do that. You know, I was there 2017, and I did play in Bethlehem Dar al Kalima College and University. It's an art college, and also some of the students actually joined me and played together for the opening of the new library. And actually, there is a reason why we put the kafiyas behind us, also to make a statement, like we stand with the Palestinian struggle and solidarity with the Palestinians and what's going on right now there. And that's my future. Of course, I'm planning to go back there and help with art, with the music. Absolutely. And Gabriel loved to go there too, because I went to his country now. He wants to come actually to my country and explore the art scene. And also, I planned also to. And in the middle of the 90s, I composed actually pieces of music with my wife. My wife played actually the piano with me on it, Jeanette. So I would like actually to play this. For solidarity with the Palestinian people and from my heart. It's very kind of like sad piece, but in the meantime, it's I just want to play it, and I feel it. It's one called Uncontrolled Whisper.
That's a gift to the Palestinian people from George, your wife, and from Gabriel.
Mm-hmm. Uncontrolled Whispers.
Bravo, lovely. This is lovely. As you said, it's kind of somber, but it reflects really the deep feeling. And I will be very excited. I'll actually, if you go to Palestine, I will make sure to travel and see you there. I would love to see you play in Jerusalem for Palestinians. I know things are difficult now, but at some point we should be able to do it. So, what's next on your agenda? I know you're working on is this what you're doing? Working on trying to finish a new album?
Yes, and we're working on the last piece. I'm trying to, I lost my brother Elias 2 years ago. He was a great accordion player, and he did an album a while ago called Salsabil. And there's one piece actually recorded was Ya Msafir Wahdak too, with the accordion. So I wanted to actually remix that and honor him in the new album. So using only the track of the accordion and put over it violin and guitar. And then I will be done with the new album. Don't know how long it's going to take because we're working on it right now. And of course, be practicing and hopefully we'll be able to travel soon.
Yeah, and I know this is going to be hard because also that's your livelihood. Where can people get your albums? Where can they purchase them?
They can actually go to. They are available online too on iTunes, CD Baby. Yeah, because I work with them, so it's online. Everything online, or they can order also the whole CD online too. So they will send them the whole full album, or they can download piece by piece, whatever they like. Just Google my name, Georges Lammas. You go to either CD Baby or iTunes. I hate to say that they are on Amazon too.
I know, and they take a big chunk, I'm sure, out of this. So that's why I'm trying to say, go to Georges Lammas. Also, I know, Gabriel, you have your own website. You have a lot of your own music. And I know...
Yes, I don't post on iTunes or CD Baby, but I do have a Bandcamp where you can go on and listen to the music on Bandcamp.
Mm-hmm. Well, guys, I'm looking forward to listen to the new album, and you've been listening to Georges Lammas and Gabriel Navia. So take us out with anything you want, a final piece for the show.
I'm gonna do a little part of Kaltoum song وصفوا للصبر. وصفوا للصبر لقيت خيال وكلام في الحب كلام في الحب يدوب ينقال وصفوا للصبر لقيت خيال وكلام في الحب كلام في الحب يدوب ينقال أهرب من قلبي أروح على فين ليالينا الحلوة في كل مكان ملينا حب احنا الاتنين ملينا الدنيا أمل أمل قلبي هروح على فين ليالينا الحلوة في كل مكان مالنا حب أحلام الدين وليل الدنيا أمل أمل
Bravo, George and Gabriel. Thank you for coming on Arab Talk.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Wow, Jamal. All I got to say is that the message verbally was powerful. The musical message was powerful. The fact that a Palestinian and a Bolivian could come together and produce such amazing, beautiful, powerful music with powerful messaging is a testament to the worldwide solidarity that people have with the people of Palestine.
On this happy note, you've been listening to Arab Talk on KPOO San Francisco 89.5 FM. Go to our website, arabtalkradio.com, and to download the latest episodes, and we will talk to you next week.
See you next week.
Thank you.